What is up, guys? Welcome back to Fit Body Secrets, where my mission is to bring you guys motivation, inspiration, and a ton of tips to help you guys on your fitness journey. And I'm not sure if you noticed, but my background is different. I'm working on reorganizing my room, and my goal is that I want to actually have a better backdrop. I want to make my YouTube, my podcast look a little fancier. So if you're watching me on YouTube, it might look a little different. You don't see my typical background, but I'm working on it. I'm Next step is to get some pictures up on the wall. So I am excited for today's episode. In fact, it's an exciting week for a lot of people in the CrossFit space, and I thought it would be a good idea just to talk about my thoughts on the open, hopefully offer you guys some tips and tricks to help you get the most out of it, and obviously not put too much pressure on yourself. And it's just crazy because the evolution of the open season since I started is just insane. I started CrossFit in the beginning of 2010. And in 2010, there wasn't even an open season. Back then, when you signed up for, well, if you wanted to go to the CrossFit Games, you basically just paid money and you would sign up for a sectional. So if you were in Florida, there was like the Florida sectionals, and it was like basically just like a local throwdown. And they just took, they had a cap. If you got in, you got to sign up and you got to be a part of the Florida sectionals. And then from there, they took the top three, and those people went on to the regionals. And at that point, that was in, I think, Jacksonville. And that was the first year that I met Rich Froning. He was competing that was his first year competing. So, and then from there, they would take the top three people that would go to the games. And that's how the qualifying process worked before the open. So at that point, it was like, hell, if you paid the $50 and you're one of the 100 people that signed up, you had a shot at the CrossFit Games. And the way they've transitioned it, the next year they started the open, and that was the first year of the open. And that year there was 6 workouts. And it's funny because it was still in the early stages of developing the website and the leaderboard and everything. And I remember we were supposed to have a week to submit the workout for the first week. And it ended up being 3 weeks because they were having so much issues with the website. And oh my gosh, I think people did that workout like, I don't even know how many times. Everybody was trying to get a better score. It was just insane. So I like that it's now condensed. I think that 5 weeks, honestly, was if you were looking to go on to the next level, it did really create a lot of stress. Like it was like, oh my God, 5 weeks of me tapering my volume to like make sure that I'm going to perform well in these open workouts. The open mattered a lot more when there was 5 workouts. So I do think from the competitive aspect, the 5 weeks was definitely harder on athletes looking to go further. But the way they've done it now, I think it's really good to kind of have it so that the community can get a little bit of things. But for athletes that are looking to compete, it's actually it doesn't really matter that much. It's kind of like, hey, you got to do this. This is kind of like your entry. And then we'll get you to the real thing that matters, which is quarterfinals and semifinals. So I feel like quarterfinals is where like the open used to be. And it's why I know that there's like a lot of people that are talking about, oh, why are they allowing 25% in? And I honestly think how I feel about it is that I think it's actually a good thing because I think it keeps the open somewhat the way the open was meant to be, and allows those people that want to pursue doing more, like, so the open being for community, and then like, hey, if you want to go on and actually want to go somewhere, your real goal is like getting to quarterfinals, and quarterfinals is really where the weeding process happens. So the quarterfinals, I feel like, is kind of like the new open. So that's where there's those of you guys that are looking to honestly go further, or kind of see kind of where you place, is the quarterfinals is more important. And I actually think it's kind of a cool concept to consider making the quarterfinals um, a little bit more of a community building event. I think that that's actually kind of cool versus focusing on so much of the 3 open workouts, because yeah, the open workouts are all inclusive, but it would also be really cool to be like, hey, we've got 20 people this year signed up that are qualified for quarterfinals, and we're going to make it really special. Like, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, we're going to have the gym open and we're going to have people coming in, and it's kind of, it just makes it kind of a little bit more fun. But with that being said, that's only for people with one goal in mind. The ones that actually really look forward to competing, they like pushing themselves, they want to see how far that they can go. And And today's episode, I kind of want to talk about, I'm going to start off by talking about like, should you sign up for the open? Because I think it's important to first and foremost decide on that. And then how you guys can get the most out of the open season. And, this episode might get a little bit long because I love talking CrossFit. And there's going to be some nutrition stuff I'll talk about too. But for the most part, my goal right now is to give you guys some clarity on, whether or not the open's for you, and also remove a level of pressure or anxiety around it and allow you to either enjoy signing up or not. So, first and foremost, like I already mentioned, the open is it's essentially it's the first stage in qualifying to make it to the CrossFit Games. That was the original goal of it, as I already said. And the goal is to make it all inclusive, to get as many people involved as possible. Because if you think about it, if they're going to try and claim to crown the fittest on earth, they need to get as many people as possible to find anybody hanging out in their garage that has any level of fitness. And that's really why they do try and make it all inclusive. And again, it progresses on, those that have more skills in CrossFit are obviously going to flourish. And that's why you'll see the skill level will increase as you go from open to quarterfinals, to semifinals, to games. So essentially what you guys are going to be looking at, if you've never signed up for the open before, how it's structured now is it's going to be 3 workouts programmed once a week for the next 3 weeks. And these workouts are typically going to be programmed in as your class workout of the day, likely on Friday or Saturday. So you guys will be doing them in the class setting. So the other thing about the open is those of you guys looking to obviously put your name on a leaderboard, they do want you to have a judge. And I'm not going to go down the weeds about, oh, the judging process sucks and it's a bunch of cheaters and yada, yada, yada. But just know that if you've never done the open before, you're likely going to have somebody holding you accountable to reps, to standards, and all that kinds of stuff. And it can be a great opportunity for people to, maybe if you've never had somebody really, tell you, hey, like your depth isn't good on a squat, to honestly get that feedback and be like, okay, I actually need to improve my movement quality. And, it also helps keep you accountable. You might find yourself pushing a little bit harder. And so, like, what's the big hype about the open? I think this is something that also is important to talk about a little bit. Is I think the main thing about the open, and because the games previously, before, so right now, CrossFit's in a weird space where there's kind of a division between the affiliates and the games. It's kind of almost like 2 brands, but with one common theme, kind of like you've got people that play rec football and then you've got people that are going to the NFL. And with CrossFit in an affiliate model, it's mostly geared towards getting you guys fit, getting you guys healthy, keeping you guys, obviously all that kinds of stuff. And then CrossFit as sport is like, we're going to the next level. So that all used to be like under one thing. And it still kind of is, because in the classes, you guys are typically pushing yourself. You're typically trying to beat somebody next to you. Well, some of you guys are. So the hype really is that it was actually meant to kind of bring the community together. Everybody kind of comes together, Friday Night Lights, everybody does the workouts together. There's a lot more camaraderie. Maybe you hang out at the gym a little bit longer. You guys, there's a lot of times there's like a post-open barbecue. It's just a good way to kind of like bring everybody together. A lot of times people will find themselves reaching a new level of fitness during the open because they've never had somebody like judging them and people yelling at them. They're so used to the class setting that you might push yourself a little bit more. Adrenaline's pumping a little bit if you've never experienced that. And you might get a new skill. So sometimes you may have never tried to do a pull up, but in the open, you see them come up and you're like, you know what? I'm going to try and see if I can't figure out how to do a kipping pull up. That stuff is likely part of, the cool thing about the hype about the open. And it's also just a good time. Like if you're like a typical 5 a.m.er, you might come to Friday Night Lights and hang out and get to meet some more people in the community. So it's a little bit about a background about what the open is and what you can expect. Now, should you officially sign up for the open? And what I mean by that is, should you actually go online, put your credit card information, put your name on the CrossFit Games site to actually sign up? And I used to be the kind of person as a coach, everybody should sign up for the open. I was like, everybody should sign up because, like, why? If you're going to do the workout anyways, you might as well put your name on a leaderboard, see where you stand. And I've actually really changed my thoughts on that because I do feel like for some people, it's not really in line with their goals and where they're at. And I think that just paying money to have your name on a leaderboard might not actually really be beneficial to you. And for some people, it might make them feel worse about themselves. Like a lot of people, and a lot of times the open can actually push people away from the gym. Like they don't actually go to CrossFit because of the competition. They might go there for the structure, the community, the coaching, and kind of pushing people to sign up for something that they really don't want to do. I don't think is the right thing. There are some people that are just a little bit scared and they don't know what to expect. But I think that the honest thing is like, if you don't really care about seeing your name on a leaderboard, you're not looking to go further into, the quarterfinals and stuff, you don't want to do any of that stuff, then I would honestly say don't sign up for it. Like now, if you're like, I'd like to see it, if it interests you to continue on and you're just a little insecure about where you stand, then yeah, I think you should sign up and see where you are. That might give you a competitive nature, but if you just honestly don't have the goal of competing and you do CrossFit because you enjoy CrossFit, you like the community, you like the workouts, then I don't think you should sign up for it. What's the purpose? But for those of you guys who are like, no, I care to kind of see how far I can go. I do CrossFit to kind of see what I'm capable of, then go for it. But I think that some people really get a lot of anxiety around competition and all the people and the judging, and why make that barrier of entry on yourself, or like whatever, like why make it harder on yourself to show up to the gym, right? So who should sign up for the open? You should sign up for the open if you are somebody who is interested in competing. I think that the open is a great way to introduce you in a controlled setting to what it feels like to have a judge, to have the people around you, to have to do the warm up and to have a heat time. It does give you a little bit of an opportunity to experience that without the stress. If you're somebody who does like the pressure and the opportunity that the support of the community and the competition setting might give you, if that drives you, then you should sign up for the open because it might push you a little bit. If you're interested in competing at a local level, this is a great way to obviously, like I said, get your hands under, get some experience in a controlled setting. And like I mentioned, you want to see your name on a leaderboard, and some people like to be able to see their progress from year to year. Maybe you just want to sign up and have fun with it. Like you're like, hey, I'll throw my $20 in. I want to have fun. And the main thing is if you are looking to compete further, you want to make it to the open, through the open quarterfinals, semifinals, and games, then yes, obviously you should be signing up for the open. And that's not even really relevant to you. You're already like, no, I'm definitely in for the open. Let's see what happens from there. You should not sign up for the open if you enjoy pushing yourself, but you really don't care to compete. You feel pressure. This is a big one. If you feel pressured to sign up for the open because everybody else around you is doing it, or your coaches are telling you that you need to do it, you don't want to, then you don't have to. If you're feeling anxiety about being judged and you don't have a desire to compete, then don't sign up. If you have no desire to do the quarterfinals, why sign up? And at the end of the day, like you just don't want to. Like I just don't want to. I want to go to the class. I want to do the workout. I want to have fun, and that's it. Okay, so the main thing though is that whether you sign up or not, you're going to be doing these workouts. And whether your goal is to compete or not, I want you guys to get the most out of these workouts and the most out of this next 3 weeks based on your specific goals. So, first and foremost, the first thing I want to talk about is the open in line with your current goals? And that's going to really obviously determine, kind of like how we shift and where you're going to get the most out of this. So if you're somebody that does CrossFit for general health and fitness, and maybe instead you're like, I'm actually getting ready for a vacation, coming up in like September, or I'm sorry, in like May or June, and you're like right now you're like focusing on like, hey, I'm like dialing in my nutrition. I'm trying to get to the gym. I'm trying to strength train. I'm trying to do all these things. Like for you, the open workout should just be like it's part of my workout routine, and your focus really shouldn't be about the open. It should just be kind of doing your thing, and the open's just kind of part of it. Vice versa, if your goal is like, I want to do the open, I want to see how far I can go, then you should really be taking this time to dial in all the 1% and ensuring that like you're, doing the most you can to get the most out of it. If it's your first open season, you want to make sure that you're feeling your best going into each Friday. if you know that you're already kind of quote unquote pretty sure you're going to make it to quarterfinals, you might be somebody that is kind of just training through the open. But regardless, I want you guys to get the most out of these workouts. Okay. So, first things first, how to approach these open workouts. Here's the first thing I'm going to talk to you guys about. When you guys are going into these open workouts, you don't want to approach it any differently than you would approach any other workout. And unless you have really poor workout strategy. So you should be going into these workouts the same way you would do any other workout. Like, what's the right weight for me to get the right stimulus? Where am I at with my skill levels? Where, like, all of those things should be the same. Like, you shouldn't be trying to change anything right now. It's really just kind of thinking of it like an assessment of like, hey, this is where we're at today. And it's a great way for you to be like, man, I wish I could do that, and start to devise a plan to get you working on those things. Okay. So when you're approaching these open workouts, you want to make sure that you're using the right modifications, proper warm ups, and all that kinds of stuff. Um, the next thing that I want to talk to you guys about in terms of getting the most out of the open is not to let your emotions like affect other people in the community. So we don't need a negative Nancy. So if you're not signing up for the open because you don't want to do the open, don't be that person's like, oh, I'm not fucking signing up for the open, blah, 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 blah. It's stupid, blah, blah, blah. Like, just realize that it's not your thing, and that's okay. Don't make it this thing about like, oh, the open's stupid. Some people really enjoy the open, others don't give a shit. So just kind of, know that, like, be proud of your decision. And I honestly almost feel like people that act like that are honestly somewhat inside having a little bit of FOMO, and that's their way of like dealing with it. Vice versa, don't be somebody that's like, if you know somebody that's not really wanting to sign up for the open, feel like you have to convince them. Like, it should be their own decision. Let's talk about some big mistakes that I find that people make when they do approach these workouts. And I kind of already started to talk about it when I talked about my approach. Is one of the things I think that I really don't like about the open is that a lot of people tend to, so for instance, the workout calls for power snatches and bar muscle ups, and person's never done a bar muscle up before. And I have watched people do some of the ugliest bar muscle ups to get a 1 point on the leaderboard. And that's just not the point of the open. Okay. Like, I get it. It's really cool to see an athlete hit a PR to get a new movement, but it should not be at a compromise of movement form. And that is in the CrossFit methodology: mechanics, consistency, intensity. So if you're somebody that's like, I'm doing the open and I'm doing it all RX, and you're going to literally fight for a movement that's possibly going to risk setting you back in your training, that's not the case. And you have to realize that if your goals are not in line with, competing, chasing the RX for that workout is likely holding you back from having a good workout. So, for instance, if the workout calls for a bar muscle up and it's a 7-minute AMRAP of 7 power snatches and 3 bar muscle ups, there was a workout similar like that. I can't remember what year it was. And you're going to sit there and stare at the bar for 7 minutes and try and get a bar muscle up. What kind of a workout are you really getting in? Okay, why not like get a workout in with a scaled movement and then spend some time working on bar muscle ups afterwards? So it's like, don't just chase the RX because you think that that's what you should be doing to get that 1 point on the leaderboard. I don't think that's the right approach. Other mistakes I see people making is they just don't warm up. They're like afraid of warming up. And this is even in the CrossFit class. They're like, I'm going to save my reps. Not reading the standards, so not actually understanding what your movement should be. Whether you're a beginner, intermediate, or advanced, you should always make sure that you're reading the standards, you're watching the videos, you're making sure that you know what's expected of you, and then communicating with your judge before the workout. So, like, I'll be honest, a lot of your judges in that you're going to have are just, they're going to be the people that you work out with, and a lot of them aren't going to be great judges. So you're going to want to make sure that you communicate with them like, hey, how are you counting? Like, make sure that you have a good flow, because you want to make sure that when you're in the workout, you know what to expect. Nothing is more frustrating as a coach than watching somebody flip out on their judge in their class because they're like not counting their double unders right or whatever. Like, get all that stuff cleared up before you start the workout, because that's going to make or break everything. Um, I think another one that I put on here is you guys should all be a little bit selfish with your open workouts if you care about it. And in all of your workouts is like, don't rush your warm up. Don't rush and don't just like go when people tell you to go. Like, actually make sure you're getting the most out of the workout because that's important. If you're going to do it, do it. Don't be a little bit selfish with yourself. Like, don't be the girl that's like, oh, I just taught 3 hours of CrossFit classes. Now I'm going to do the workout. Now, don't, and if you're going to do that, just know what your expectations are and don't start complaining about it. And then I think another big mistake that I see people make, and it's not as common now, but guys, you don't need to repeat the workouts. Okay. Think of it this way. If it's a Monday and a workout comes up and you shit the bed on it, are you going to sit there and obsess about it and like redo it on Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday? No, you're gonna be like, well, that was a shitty workout, and you're going to move on. Do the same thing here. Like, it's not worth it to redo the workouts over and over again. That's why going into the workouts with a strategy, watching the videos, making sure you understand everything is super important. Okay. This all brings me to my next thing is one of my biggest things about the open, and that's why I mentioned keeping good movement mechanics, is staying injury free. Okay. So you want to make sure that you are making sure that you're properly warming up, and that you are not using movements that you're not comfortable with or loads that you're not comfortable with. It is not, it's like deadlifts, guys. It's not worth it. Like, don't literally hurt yourself for a workout. There was a year that there was a pretty heavy deadlift in the open, and so many people were just like blowing out their back, and then they're redoing the workout. So, guys, please stay injury free. Again, your life is going to go on beyond these 3 workouts. Think of it that way. It's less than an hour over the next 3 weeks that you're going to have in terms of these workouts. Probably going to be more like 30 minutes of actually working out. So, you don't really need to be stressing so much about how well you perform in these workouts. That's the main thing. Even if your goals are to make it to quarterfinals, if you have to really fight to make it to quarterfinals, I don't know that that's really the right thing for you if it's going to come at the expense of movement quality. Okay. Let's talk about. I'm gonna talk about proper fueling for performance and recovery, and this is important. Okay, so the volume of what you guys are going to be doing in these workouts is likely not much different than you're going to be getting on a typical CrossFit day. So your intensity might be a little bit higher, but I don't think the volume is going to be that much higher. And I'm keeping this specific to the open. And I will do another episode talking about quarterfinals as well. So I think that honestly, guys, right now, you shouldn't be changing anything with your nutrition. I think that right now you should be fueling your body for what your specific goals are right now, whether it's, hey, I'm working on, fat loss, I'm working on, dialing in my nutrition for building muscle, performance health, whatever it is, you shouldn't really be changing anything. Your nutrition should stay pretty consistent. Now, the only thing that might change is, let's just say, for instance, you're an AMer and you're used to working out fasted and now you're going in the PM after work. You might have to change up some things with meal strategy, but what I would try and tell you to do then is just to kind of keep the same consistency with the amount of food in your belly when you go into your workout. So if you typically train fasted in the morning, you might want to make sure that you have your last snack between like 2 and 3 if you're going to hit the workout between like 4:30 or 5. So that might just help you kind of make sure that you are just not feeling depleted. Or if you're super stressed after work, you might want to eat something, relax a little bit, and then hit the workout, just depending on what your day looks like. So, like I said, I'm not going to really spend a lot of time talking about nutrition because I honestly think that the main thing is like you shouldn't be changing anything. Don't try new supplements, don't try new pre workouts, and it just keep it simple, And I think the only thing, like I said, is if you're an AM and you're going PM, that might be the one thing that might change for you. Now, I already kind of talked about this a little bit, but when it comes to your training, you have to really ask yourself, what are your overall goals? Okay, so like right now, the majority of you guys should just be training like you normally do and hitting the open workout like it was another workout. Um, don't think really anybody should be quote unquote tapering for the open unless you're like really trying to fight to get to quarterfinals. But at this point, I think that your volume is likely at the place where like it's just doing the class workout anyways. So I don't think that you're going to really need to worry so much about tapering because it's likely already going to happen in class. Most of your gyms on Thursdays are going to be some kind of a recovery day. So I think you're going to be fine as long as you're following the general class programming. The main thing is if you're looking to go beyond the quarterfinals, beyond the open, is you should really be training through the open. You shouldn't really be changing anything. And I think that, like I said, the main thing is that, like, depending on the intensity of the workout, you may want to bump up calories a little bit post workout if you have a hard training day on Saturday. That might be the other thing that you might do. And the day of the open workout, your volume might be a little bit lower because your intensity is a little bit higher. That's also fine. But you shouldn't really be so concerned about the open. It should just be mostly like, hey, I want to make sure that I'm recovering so that I can get back to my normal training tomorrow. Like, that's the main thing. So you'll likely be a little bit more conservative with volume on Friday and maybe even Saturday. So hopefully that was helpful. Let's talk about a couple of other things that you should really think about in terms of the open, whether you are going to do this to kind of make it to the next stages or you're just doing it as part of the class. Is I think the one thing that people struggle with the most, regardless, is the stress, the anxiety, and the pressure. And all that comes from internal stuff. It's nobody else is putting that on us. And it's something that, as an athlete, I have learned how to use that to my advantage. Whether your goals are just to do the workout to get the best, that you can do, or if you are looking to go on, is handling that pressure can be very overwhelming. It's a lot bottled up here. And what I'm going to tell you is that nervous energy is actually the best thing for your workout if you can learn how to control it. So sometimes what you'll find is people have that crazy amount of adrenaline and they go into their workout blazing and they end up dying out. So that's why approaching the workouts like you should any other workout, but really taking that little bit of anxiety and pressure and like letting that like give you a little extra oomph in your workout. You will see that, at the end of the day, guys, remember, it's just a workout. It's just like any other workout. You don't need to put any extra pressure on yourself. I think we all put this self-imposed pressure, like I'm saying, because we're so worried about what everybody else is doing and how everybody else sees us. And I'm going to be honest, nobody else really gives a shit. In fact, most people in the CrossFit community are so focused on their own performance, they're not thinking about yours. And a lot of people are also very supportive and excited to help you. So it's a good time to kind of bring everybody together and enjoy it. So if you are somebody that is signing up for the open or not, I hope that today's episode gave you a couple of things to consider. And if you were on the fence about signing up for the open, hopefully it helped you kind of make your decision. Um, Kind of taking a look and seeing somebody posted, I wasn't going to do it, but my schedule changed. So I felt that removed my excuse. I skipped last year because of ongoing pain, but that's gone. I look at it as it's just a WOD. I do WODs every time I go to the gym. I will definitely scale and that's just fine. And that's honestly the right approach. Like I said, everybody is likely going to be participating in the open. So whether you sign up or not is totally up to you. Save your money, do the work in the class, sign up and put your work on a leaderboard. It doesn't really matter. But the main thing is to remove the pressure, have some fun, and move on with your life. Like, again, there is way more to your life than the CrossFit Games open workouts. You're going to go on and your goals are going to still be there outside of those workouts. And that's pretty much it. That's what I got today, guys. I hope you guys are all having a great day. I've got 2 gains train updates I'm going to be putting out this week, along with another one I'm going to be doing live tomorrow. So see y'all then.